All right, welcome. Very interesting developments here in the continuing adventures of 3 Whiskey Bravo. We've just been cleared to descend. This is joyous news because there was an open question as to whether that was a new bug as a result of patch 3. Let me activate our vertical speed controls right now on the autopilot and begin our descent. Let me explain a little bit about what's been happening. Had our third and always depressing crash to desktop today, which, if you've been following the forums, is a function of the V button. 1 second.
Delta 3 Whiskey Bravo, please expedite your descent to flight level 220.
Sorry about that. I had to close the door. Expedite my descent. Hey, I'm working on it, pal. All right, let's increase our descent rate. Anyway, a known bug that's apparently appeared. I never noticed it, but it was mentioned in connection with patch 3, was pressing the V button, which is the button that brings up the VFR map, will cause it to CTD, which is what happened to me. I stormed off when it crashed to desktop. I calmed down. Again, if you follow my videos rather, movies, the record player, you know that I fly in real time. So I live in LA and we're in the Bahamas. So I didn't want to do a night flight, frankly. In any event, I was so irritated that I'm like, I gotta get back in the saddle. I can't get kicked in the teeth and just give up. So, bunch of open questions. I reloaded it. As soon as I got in the sim, I pressed V. V. I pressed it a million times. Pressed it every 30 seconds because I wanted to see if it would crash to desktop. There was some comment in one of the forums I read that if you press V as soon as you load the sim, then it won't CTD. Now, the other question was, if you remember our descent and approach into Turks and Caicos yesterday, never got a descent order until I was 13 miles from the airport when they told me to descend from 29,000 feet to 2,000 feet, which is impossible. So I had to improvise. Just got a descent instruction to descend down to 22,000 feet from 30,000 feet, flight level 300 down to flight level 220. So I was jazzed because I didn't know if I was going to lose that as some sort of a function of the patch, which would be concerning and irritating and depressing because I need ATC, because I try to fly my IFR flight plans by the books. Everybody's different. Some people play this game, they want to do loop-de-loops over the Golden Gate Bridge. I like to fly by the books, to the extent my knowledge permits me to do so. So when I just got the descent command from ATC to descend, I was encouraged. There's been a few weird things. If you know my videos or aviation in general, or you've been watching the plethora, that's my tribute to the Three Amigos, plethora of videos about all this stuff, the leg I'm flying should be magenta, and it's white. And I've noticed that the active leg has been bouncing around in terms of what is magenta. I'm flying on this active leg right now between Donez, and I would press V, but now I'm too scared to. I'm flying between Donez and Bosar. So this Bosar, let me zoom in a little bit on the MFV. Bosar is my destination. Donez is where I'm coming from. Garot was before that. This should be magenta right now. So I don't know what that's all about, but we're in our descent, so it's okay. I mean, it's all right. I'm noticing a couple other interesting things that have happened on this flight. I was just sitting here monitoring my cruise, and I noticed an airplane coming from this direction. Maybe, I don't know. It was not hitting at me. There was no collision issues. But then I heard ATC say American Airlines flight 2190. descend and maintain flight level 310, and they were at flight level 370. So just out of curiosity, I ran over to flightaware.com, I entered AAL 2190, and sure as shit, American Airlines operates a flight from Dallas-Fort Worth to San Juan, Puerto Rico. I thought that was pretty cool that I got to see an airplane pass by me on my left that was actually there. Now, I know this is a feature that people are thrilled about when it works, which apparently it's working for me, but I thought it was pretty damn cool that I could see an airplane fly by me, hear ATC call its actual flight number, American Airlines Flight 2190. I can run over to FlightAware, enter that, and see where that plane was in real time at that moment, and it was sure enough right by me, in as much as I am currently bound from Providenciales, as they call it apparently, in Turks and Caicos.
Number 3 Whiskey Bravo, descend and maintain 14,000 feet.
Good, we're still getting descent instructions. This is very encouraging. To Nassau, MYNN International Airport in the Bahamas. So, you know, hey, listen, knock on wood, which my way of doing that is to knock on my head. But let's just keep our fingers crossed. But right now, you know, at least I'm being cleared to descend. I mean, I can't tell you how anxiety-inducing it is when you're flying at cruising altitude and you know the airport's coming up and you know they should have told you to descend, and if you were in a real plane they would have told you to descend, and the ATC's not talking to you, and then you have to initiate your own descent on your. It's just it spoils the suspension of disbelief. That is that I'm actually doing this, which of course I'm not. My, you know, limited general aviation experience in this Cessna 1782 and the Piper Malibu. Oh my God, that's funny. I was so busy talking I forgot to actually initiate the descent. And that's funny, ATC actually told me to get my shit together. Anyway, I don't pretend to know everything. I don't even pretend to know anything. I know a little, very little. And you know what they say about a little knowledge is dangerous. But, you know, I know enough to know that it can be frustrating when you are committed to doing it as you have learned and have been taught to do it, and then it doesn't work because of a stupid AI problem. I mean, that's just, you know, mind-bogglingly frustrating. I had to go online. Sorry, I'm trying to just slow down a little bit. I had to go online to find an approach plate for runway 14. The airport code for Nassau International, I don't know if that's its official name, I'm sorry, I forget, is MYNN, Mike Yankee November November. We're landing at runway 14, which happily enough has an ILS. So the frequency on that is 110.1. By the way, I just found out the airport name is Lynden Pindling. What an interesting name for an airport. Lynden Pindling International Airport. So that's where we're going, runway 14. In any event, let's go ahead and take this opportunity to enter in the ILS frequency on nav1, which, according to my information, is 110.1. And while we're at it, let's enter the ILS, not the ILS, but the VOR DME frequency for the VOR transmitter at the airport, which I show as 112.7. Again, I don't know if this is accurate. This is what I found. That's what I found online. So you know, it could be wrong. I know everything on the internet is true, but let's go over here and activate that and see if we get VOR information. no data on nav1. That's what I would expect, because again, that's an ILS frequency. You don't expect to receive data from an ILS transmitter until you're much, much closer to the airport, because it's not designed to be a navigation aid from distance. It's meant to assist you in your approach and landing. Now, here we go. Bearing 2, no data on nav 1. Let's switch it to nav 2. Bingo! 39.3. Happy day. The internet was right. It happens occasionally. So we now have navigational information on the distance of the airport to which we're headed, and that it is 37.3. The identifier for that VOR, which again, a VOR is just a fancy string of letters that mean a radio transmitter at a particular location that beams information out. Your computer, your aircraft is designed to receive that information to determine DME, distance measuring equipment, to determine how far away it is, and give you that information, which is useful. What they clear us down to, I don't remember. Do you remember? 14,000. Whoops. Okay. Let's see what happens. Clear down to 14,000. If you notice, again, I can't press the V button because if this...
Delta 3 Whiskey Bravo, descend and maintain 2,000 feet.
2,000, boy, as usual. They don't
Descend and maintain 2,000 feet. Delta 3 Whiskey Bravo.
screw around and telling you to descend. They do. They tell you to descend more steeply than you should. You see how this is turning magenta and white?
Bravo, you are 3 miles southeast. Maintain present heading and altitude. Expect ILS runway 14 approach by a Zulu Quebec Alpha 298 radial 140 DME are cleared to Zulu Quebec Alpha.
Holy shit! What the fuck did he just say? Now this is alarming because let's see if there's an airplane heading straight. Oh, there he is. He's well above us. See that? There's that guy. There's that guy, and there he is. Anyway, I lost my train of thought, but oh, I can't, or I can, but I'm too scared to press the B button because if this crashes the desktop again, I'll hang myself. But if you look, you can kind of see what I've programmed in as our approach. I'm gonna go like this, left turn, left U-turn, and then head in. Obviously, 14 is southeast. 090 is east. 180 is south. 140 is southeast. Just picture a circle divided into 360 parts. That's what that's referring to. So we are. Everything's going well right now. The active leg is magenta, so that's reassuring. ZPI, that's interesting. That symbol right there is an NDB, a non-directional beacon.
Delta 3 Whiskey Bravo, please expedite your descent to 2,000 feet.
Oh boy, I am definitely... I'm sorry, I'm so fired up. I'm not paying enough attention. But as I was... Oh, what I was also going to say was that this is a problem, and I've seen in all the YouTube videos I've watched the other guys who are doing this, the ATC brings you in way, way lower than you need to be. Normally, you would be vectored down in steps, descended 8,000 feet, 6,000 feet, 4,000 feet, 2,000 feet. Well, MSFS 2020 just skipped right over that and just vectors you down to the lowest altitude that appears on the approach plates. There is no approach plate that I could find easily for this runway 14 ILS. Well, it was pretty easy. I mean, I had to go online. I'm used to being able to access approach plates on my ForeFlight app on my iPad, but regardless, I did and was able to determine that the altitude we need to be at for essentially the final waypoint for this approach is 2,000 feet. And I suspect that the AI and ATC in the AI is using whatever appears on the approach plate as the final commanded descent altitude as the default altitude to which you are ordered to descend. If that makes sense. And I really do believe that's what's happening. Anyway, this is where the island that we're landing on. I don't know what it's called. I've never been to the Bahamas. But here we are. This is us. Okay? And we're going to Cure. And if you look here, Cure is 6 minutes away. Now, if we're descending at 1,800 feet per minute, then do the math. I mean, I don't know what 18 times 6 is. I'm sorry, I can't break that up. But it's somewhere between 10 and 11,000 feet, I suspect. Which means we can shallow out our descent rate. Because what did we get cleared down to? 2,000 feet. Well, we're at 10,000 feet right now. And we got 6 minutes, 5 minutes and 41 seconds until we get to Cure. We're going to be way, way under that if we keep descending at that speed. So we can shallow out our descent rate. Again, 5 minutes away, descending now at 1,000 feet per minute. 9,400 feet minus 5,000 is 4,400 feet. We don't need to be at 2,000 feet until about here somewhere. So I feel that I believe this is a reasonable way to handle our descent. I'm wondering if I've gotten any altimeter information. Let's look. What a crazy approach instruction. Maintain present heading altitude. ILS 1 approach via ZQA Zulu Quebec Alpha 298 radial 140 DNE arc cleared to ZQA Day 3 Whiskey Bravo. Wow, that's a complex instruction on the approach. Haven't gotten any altimeter information, but I expect we will get some. You know, in this game you can just press the B button, B Bravo button, and it'll automatically adjust your altimeter, but I hate to do that if I don't have to. That's our airport out there. We're going to be landing on this runway. Just swoop in here, right there, 1-4. That's where we're landing. I want to change my altimeter because I'm still showing 29902, and that's just a standard altitude. Excuse me, a standard altimeter. But again, we're now 4 minutes away from Cure, and we are fine when it comes to altitude. Just fine. Showing now 16.8 nautical miles from Cure, 4 minutes, 10 seconds. When we were in flight over the ocean, I felt like, gosh, it seems so bright. And then I realized tomorrow's the full moon. Tomorrow's the full moon, October 1st. Which, by the way, we have 2 full moons in October. So the next full moon in October is a blue moon. Who knew? Anyway, descending 7,400 feet. Or 2,000. But even though I could just have descended to 2,000 feet as rapidly as I wanted, and I technically would have been compliant with ATC's instructions, but I want to try to replicate what I know to be a more realistic approach, which is not some gigantic descent to the lowest possible altitude. It's a step down, and so in order to do that, you obviously need to be able to estimate where you need to be and when. Otherwise, you're left with being too low, or worse, too high. Now, too low can be a very serious problem if you're flying in the Rocky Mountains. As I've been lucky, I haven't crashed. I've come close to being vectored into the mountains a few times by our handy-dandy ATC, but luckily I've been flying in conditions which permitted my ability to avoid such situations. Looking here at our primary flight display, this screen, this magenta arrow just simply indicates that we are on the leg of this pre-programmed GPS approach and route. This blue arrow, which if you watch closely is moving slowly this way, is tuned to the VOR DME at the airport. Now you'll notice now we do have nav1 data, IZQA, India Zulu Quebec Alpha, showing 8.6. Interesting. Well, you might say, wait a minute, why is it getting bigger? 8.6, 8.7. It's because we're flying away from the airport. Same with this on this Zulu Quebec Alpha VOR DME frequency. This is a very useful piece of information here. If you notice, the distances between nav1 and nav2 appears to be about 1/10 of a mile, telling us that the radio transmitter for the ILS frequency is 1/10 of a mile closer than the, or 2/10 of a mile approximately, than the VOR transmitter. Really, we're just talking about radio antennas here, folks. In any event, winds right now are behind, tailwind, 9 knots, which is good, because when we turn around, that means we'll be heading right into it. This blue arrow, again, is a directional navigational assistant that is pointing in the direction, not necessarily of the airport, but of the radio frequency into which we are tuned on nav2, which is the VOR DME frequency of the airport. And sometimes the VOR DME frequency is not near the airport. Don't assume that it's on top of the airport. Sometimes it's miles away. But we're able to extrapolate how far the VOR DME frequency is from the ILS frequency by comparing these two numbers, 11.6 versus 11.9, 11.7 versus 12. That tells us how far each is from our aircraft. So night approach into the Bahamas, always, night approaches are always a little more interesting. Certainly less dramatic than a mountain nighttime approach. I'm confident in saying we're not going to run into a mountain out here over the water, and we know we're over the water, as you can see on our MFD. Making our left turn now at 3,900 feet, descending 2,000 feet. So pleased that I didn't get stuck in cruising altitude while ATC forgot about me. I will wrap up this video after we land, knock on wood, and park by pressing the V button, the V key, and we'll see if it crashes into desktop. I certainly hope not. Let's zoom in a little bit here on the MFD. We don't need to be quite so zoomed out. By the way, can I just please... Oh, this is weird. Isn't that strange? Let's see if anything weird happens when we get there. They need to do a patch that allows me to dim these screens. This has been a persistent complaint on my part. Just wrecks one's night vision. We need to be able to dim the screens. It's funny because some of the aircraft you can dim the screens, but not on the TBM. Let's activate our inertial separator. Don't need our pitot heat anymore at all. It's 21 degrees outside. Oh God, that sounds so nice. It's hotter than blazes in Southern California today. It was 106 degrees in my backyard today. 106, 107 degrees. Awful, awful. 22 degrees Celsius at 2,300 feet above the Bahamas. Warm up a little when we get into the airport, but what a nice night. What a nice night. Beautiful, clear night. Had some lightning on our way out of Turks and Caicos. Minor thunderstorm activity, nothing terrible. A half bank should be on. I don't know why it's not. Half bank is a feature that allows the automated limitation of just how steeply the aircraft can turn, which, you know, it doesn't make that big a difference from an aviation standpoint, but in terms of passenger comfort, sometimes these sharper 45-degree banks can make people want to puke. At 2,000 feet now, which is good, and we know we will be on this approach. I would press V right now to show you exactly the name of the waypoint at which we should be at 2,000 feet. It's called MUNIE, M-U-N-I-E, but I'm too scared, sorry. But once we turn final, I'll activate APR and switch nav source from FMS to nav1. But let's watch what happens here. This is kind of a weird thing here. Is it going to go right? Or is it going to turn left for final? Let's find out. While we're waiting. Still waiting for the altimeter, by the way. Let's get on our landing lights. Please don't do anything screwy. Oh, there's MUNIE. Oh, Jesus, that means we need to be under 2,000. Okay, I'm glad I zoomed in. No problem. No problem. Okay, now we should be turning final momentarily. Uh-oh. Oh. Is it doing, is it? Oh, it's screwing up. It's being goofy. I'm pressing the approach. Switch this to, no, not nav2, nav1. Yep, okay, you saw what it did? It's doing something screwy. It's all right, we saved the day by pressing nav1. Now it's gonna say, so just again, by way of description, it's like, oh, I need to turn around and go this way. No, you don't, dummy. But luckily, by activating the, switching this from FMS to nav1 quickly, and then pressing approach, let's turn off half bank now. I need a steeper turn. It's going to turn left to intercept this. So this was a little bit of an unexpected development. That's okay. Let's put our gear down.
Landing gear.
It's okay. You know, this is... Listen, if this were easy, everybody would do it. You got to know how to deal with problems when they present. You heard...
Whiskey Bravo, you are 8 miles northwest of Nassau.
Here's the runway.
Contact Nassau Tower on 134.55 when inbound on the approach.
Slowing us down. Flaps 1.
Tower on 134.55 Docker tree.
Actually, I was going to do flaps 1, but let's wait till the glide slope. Glide slope says we're still under.
Nassau Tower, Docker November tree 4.
I actually can see
8 miles northwest inbound ILS runway.
red lights on the poppies, so that tells me we're low, not high.
Cleared ILS runway 14 approach. Altimeter 29.9 wind 158 at 10.
There we go. There's the right turn. We do not have the glide slip yet. This is still white, but we do have localizer information. That's why this is green and lining up right now. I still see all reds on the poppies, which means we're lower. We're low, not high, which is good. Gear is down. Reconfirm, reconfirm, reconfirm. Landing lights are on. Okay, I just saw the poppies now. I'm seeing a white, red, red, red. Okay, so we've got indications that we are approaching the appropriate glide slope altitude. I want this to turn green. Turn green. I'm telling you, please, intercept the glide slope. Boom! Boy, it doesn't screw around about intercepting at glide slope. You see how it turned green, just like I said? Anyway. So we had a little curveball with that goofy, weird turn that it wanted to do over here, but we took control of the situation and addressed it. Flaps fully deployed. Oh! Jesus Christ. Yes, this is what happens. I thought I deployed my flaps, and I hadn't deployed my flaps. Well, this is why we go through these checklists in our head over and over again. That would have been embarrassing to land without flaps. That would have been a real problem, too, because our approach speed is 85 knots, and with no flaps deployed, 2-mile final. That would have been, to fly at 85 knots with no flaps in the TBM, well, let's put it this way, it's probably not going to happen. Airspeed's good, 89, 88 knots. Landing gear's down. Landing lights on. Got 2 whites, 2 reds. So we're exactly where we need to be. Winds are in front of us, if you look here. 9 knots. Coming at us from kind of this way. So a slight crosswind. Let me adjust the altimeter's 29 or 9 or 4. I don't. If they gave me altimeter information, I missed it. Airspeed's at 80 knots. Need to be a little bit faster. I'm going to take control of the aircraft. Autopilot disengaged. 500 feet AGL. Trim it a little bit. There we go. Got 2 whites, 2 reds on the poppy. I wonder if this will be any easier to see since it's nighttime. I know when I watch these videos later, sometimes these poppies are hard to make out. Airspeed's 80, 82, 83 coming up. Glide slope's perfect. 2 whites. I'll just change to 3 whites, 1 red, so a tiny bit too high. Trim us a little bit. There we go. I don't want to fight this stick the whole way down, so trim is very useful in that regard. Feet are on the pedals. Get back to 2 whites, 2 reds. .87 knots. Perfect airspeed. Wind still 7 knots from in front of us. 1 white, 3 reds, that's fine. 2 and 2 again. Start to throttle back. Runway 14 confirmed. And idle. I'll take it. Activate those reverse thrusters. Very good. Speed down to 38 knots. Make a left here. Step on these toe brakes. Rudder, left rudder pedal. Sorry if it's a little sloppy. I'm still getting used to using my feet to steer. Hands off the stick. That's a weird feeling, to just be steering purely with your feet.
Whiskey Bravo, contact ground on 121.7.
All right. All right, I feel redeemed.
Going to 121.7 Docker Trey Whiskey Bravo.
Stop. Okay. Go to ground. Welcome to the Bahamas, ladies and gentlemen. The local time is 9:48 p.m. Which you probably could... Ooh, a little lightning out of nowhere. Okay, taxi to parking. Oh, that's
Ground
sweet.
Docker November Tree 4 Trey Whiskey Bravo, request taxi to parking.
Flaps up.
Docker November Tree 4 Tree Whiskey Bravo taxi to general aviation parking.
Push the taxi light, kill the pulse lights. Boy, you know, the thunder like that, you're going to have a romantic evening in front of you. All right. Let's follow our taxi instructions. In the daytime, when I get screwy taxi instructions, I might try to correct for it, but I don't know this airport, and I don't know if there's any obstructions between me and where they want me to park, so I need to adjust my sensitivity a little bit more on these rudder pedals, because I'm noticing when I turn, it's a little aggressive. Like, you know, I'm pushing with my foot and nothing's happening, and then all of a sudden, if I push a little bit harder, it turns more steeply than it should. But that's a minor issue. I think I could probably a function of just getting used to how to use these rudder pedals. CH rudder pedals. These are from FSX. That's how long I've had them. But hey, they still work. And these days, lots of luck finding flight controllers or rudder pedals. Both my flight controller, which I admit is this flight stick, not a yoke, and my rudder pedals are from my FSX days, but they still work. Okay, where's Gary? It's over there somewhere. There he is. That's him. Let's turn off our taxi light so we don't blind the poor guy. Make our right. See how this goes. I know if I use the brakes, I'm going so slow that it'll just stop me. So I'm not going to. Down to a crawl. I'm going to have to gun it a little bit. Oh, what a relief. Okay, so a longer video than usual, but I had a lot to fill you in on, and it was worth it because this was a fun flight. Lots of curveballs thrown. There's that thunder. Somebody's gonna have a good night. Lots of curveballs thrown at us on this one, but made it work. Okay, there's Gary's telling us to go right. I'm using my feet. Be patient. Ah. Give me that X. There it is. Boom. Oh my God. Okay. Parking brake. Pitot heaps. Oh, I already turned that off. Sorry, I forgot. Enough with the alarms. Let's cut the engine. Fuel valve closed. Oh, you and your alarms. Strobe and nav down, off. And then we'll depressurize the airplane. Okay, I think that's it. Well, this was an adventure. This was exciting. This flight had everything. I'm glad that I was just through an absolute fit when this thing CTD'd earlier today. But I just I stormed off and I sat on the couch and I said, I can't leave this unresolved. I have to try again. And I'm really glad I did because it ended up being a nice flight and a good one. Everything worked out. Fun little issue that presented itself with that goofy, weird thing right there with that turn. But again, useful to be able to, if you know your way around the aircraft, the buttons to push and how quickly you can push them, you can deal with it and solve the problem, and that's important. Zooming out here a little bit, and again, I'm just so bad with this. Keyboard control, but look at that. That is so cool. Here we are. Nice and parked, safe in the Bahamas. Little commercial jet over there. That's nice. Now look around. Oh, look at this. Somebody else on final. That is awesome. On the same runway that I was on. Oh, that is so cool. He's on finals, runway 14. I love it. That's great. All right. Time to go check into the hotel or the villa and listen to the lightning, so to speak. That's cool. I wonder who that is coming in. Well, all I know is where we are. And that's us. Oh, that's cool. What is he? He's getting ready to depart, maybe? I don't know. All right, friends. That's it for now.